Hi, welcome back to the channel. For those who haven't watched before, I'm Charlotte and this is the School of Pattern Cutting. You might by now know that I rather like Mrs Maisel. I think the story is fantastic, but the costumes are really good. They're authentic of the area, and I just love how many different styles they have, how over the 3 seasons it's really developed and it moves with the time slightly, so you can see how time passes and the styles changed. And also they don't go for the obvious big hitters of the time, like a lot of people do. They actually really research fashion history of what a woman from New York would have worn in the 50s, 60s. So we thought we do a fashion analysis of some of Mrs Maisel's styles. And we start by looking at the sort of cropped jacket, or bolero as it's also known. So the first one is, this is the pink number she wears in season 3, and this is really great because it's basically like this bolero, but they just put one button up there and then they really cropped it, so it literally just sits below her bust. And then I think it's got a seam going like that, and it's got completely normal shoulders. So it's like this bolero is super easy to make because it's a few pattern drafting steps, but then you can just throw it together in an hour or something, especially if it's online. But just by altering the length a bit, it completely changes again, and it becomes more maybe a bit less formal, more sort of day wear if you make it shorter. But also you could make it in a jersey wool, that sort of really short style, and then you could just throw it on top of a dress or something and it looked fantastic. So let's have a look at a different one. There's lots to choose from. Interestingly enough, this one is another Mrs Maisel, and it's very similar to the pink one, but it's in green and it's got a shaped collar and 2 buttons, so you can really play around this how you want it. I think some of them, if they become really short, they look quite sort of Jane Austen Regency. You can always imagine them wearing sort of a military-inspired crop jacket. There's another one. I also love this pink, this white version, and this is a bit more advanced. It becomes quite interesting. So they actually move the collar really high up, and then they've made it separate. So it's a really big Peter Pan collar, but they made quite a tight roll, so it becomes quite different. And then it just got like a bow here, so a bow holds it together. So it's of different ways of how you use the same patterns, and you change just the neckline, the collar, or put a detail in like a bow, or you put in a really big covered button. Just think really works really well. Other one I really like, which I think is from the first season, is this pink one. And again, they've put a different collar on. So this time it's a really tight Peter Pan collar with actually hasn't got a roll at all, and it sort of has a flat center front. And when the Peter Pan collar starts coming out there, so it becomes quite neat, so slightly sort of Jackie Kennedy, you can see that already in there, what she wore when she was First Lady. And then it's got lots of little buttons, so it becomes quite understated. It's quite simple. But one what I love, they've done a seam from here, and instead of having a curve here, they got it flat, and then it goes up into your shaping curve. So you got like a little sort of curve there, a little scallop, which is really pretty. And then I'm gonna look at one more Mrs Maisel, which I think is my favorite, which is this one. I think it's from season 1 or 2. So it's a beautiful teal color. Again, they've done the collar slightly different, so you've got it coming out and you've got a geometric square collar, and you could properly do as a short collar, it'd be quite fun to try out how it would look, and it'd be easier to make. So you could do a short collar with a geometric edge, or you could actually do an attached shawl-like Peter Pan collar, which if you're interested in learning that, let me know and I show you how to combine Peter Pan with shawl to do like a sort of hybrid of the two, which I really like to look at because it's slightly more formal than the short collar, but still has the softness of a drape. But what I absolutely love about it, so again, rather than having a curve in the middle, it's got the darts and then it's got like a layer. So instead of just having a seam there, they've got underneath and then they've got an extra layer of pattern. So it's really prettily done, and it gives you sort of a, it looks like you're wearing two jackets as one, so like optical illusions, which looks fantastic. And then again, it just has a normal sleeve. It's a really simple jacket, but I've done it one really clever detail on it. And so that's all Mrs Maisel Boleros, which I think are great. Quickly wanted to show you two other ones which are of this period, but again have really nice details. So this is a great one. So it's a similar period, but what I love about it, so I've done the curve exactly like here, and we've made a separate, so I've done a shawl like a revers collar, which quite often with sort of older women's wear style, it's not proper men's tailored revers, it's sort of a hybrid, you know, shawl and a tailored collar, which is easier to make and looks great. But what I love is the little pockets, and there's stuff like pockets which really can change the look. So if you made it a tiny bit longer, you could have little patch pockets, or as we've done there, you could have little flat pockets, so it becomes quite Chanel-y as well. If you made it straight and slightly straighter at the side, it'd be like a little cropped Chanel jacket, which is always beautiful. And there's another one of that period, which I really like. It's slightly earlier, so it's 1950s, 1950 rather than 50s. And can you see what's really nice about it? So they've done the really high short collar, like ours, really little, really petite, and then they're wearing it up, which is always sort of makes it sort of quite even more elegant, I think, if you sort of have it so it sort of frames your neck. And also then it's really nice because it sort of makes your neck look really long. And then they got lots of buttons, and then all they've done is they straighten it out here and they put a peplum on. So they put a skirt on, which is sort of flared, and that sort of gives you slightly that sort of new look from the famous Christian Dior bar jacket. You could sort of reinterpret an easier, more variable version, because that's really structured, and it's like, if you look at the lining and how it's done and padding, it's proper 1950s couture. But by making a straight bolero and putting a skirt on, it becomes a contemporary version of vintage, and it becomes really variable. And the peplum is really popular at the moment, so I really like this one, for example. So that again, it's all in white, so quite bridally, but it's our peplum, our bolero. There's a straight here, and then it's got the really beautiful peplum, and that would be great for any sort of formal wear. But I think also if you made it in denim or in a knit, it'd be really nice if you had like your quite fitted bolero crop jacket, but when you put peplum on, so suddenly it becomes really wearable, and also it's slightly warmer in winter, which is always a good thing. But it becomes more, I think this is, you have to wear a proper dress underneath, or your waist has to be the right height. If you make it longer, you could wear with trousers, and it always looks really tall and elegant, I find. And also what I loved is, when I started looking at sort of contemporary formal wear, is stuff like this Indian formal garment. And it's our bolero jacket, and it's got the same shawl collar, really narrow in a satin, which is beautiful. And then what I've done, which I like particularly, is they actually changed it into a top. So it's got a center front seam, but then it has a sort of really big skirt. So again, it sort of quotes, it looks a bit like a bar jacket, but it's a top. So I think that'd be a really nice idea. You'd need a side zip to get in and out of it. But then you could just change this into a seam rather than opening, and then put a skirt on, like a little peplum detail. And that way it would become a really elegant top, but you could wear it with a skirt or trousers, and it look great either in a plain or with a contrasting color, or in a print even. If you're interested in actually drafting this beautiful bolero, have a look at our Vintage Pattern Cutting Masterclass, which is on our website. You can find it in the description below. And it's a great little class to take you through 5 vintage garments, show you how they're drafted, and also show you how to put together your trowels. And they're great for making stuff like this. So I hope you enjoyed this analysis of Mrs Maisel's boleros, and how you can apply it to a really simple vintage bolero to update it and change it. So thank you for watching, and enjoy your drafting.